So it's happening a little bit, just science, it's like magic but works, some quote like that. How many times must you really hear the Arthur C. Clarke quote about, science is indistinguishable from magic, right? So I put together a wonderful article that I'll be pushing out today that really starts to hit it home. And you can read my writing on my website, mikelev.in. You can always remember it because I'm Mike Levin. You can remember with the Philly pronunciation, Mike Levin, right? It's like some sort of inn or bed and breakfast or something. The Mike Love Inn. And it's because I love you. And if I were to model what I'm doing after anyone, right, there are just two individuals. It's Fred Rogers and Bob Ross, right? Or commonly known as Mr. Rogers and Mr. Happy Trees, Happy Little Trees, right? Bob Ross is much more badass than what he projects on his painting. He was actually like a military drill instructor. He's the kind of guy who yells at the cadets in boot camp, right? Sergeant Carter on Gomer Pyle. That was him before he got into painting and really, touched many more lives in much more meaningful ways. And it's a great demonstration of emotional intelligence as a superpower, right? Bob Ross is like the poster child for emotional intelligence being as important as the more kind of green arrow hunter intelligence, right? There's two kinds of intelligences out there. There's the kind that can take the bow and arrow weapon and systematically improve it, right? Because, we all tend our own equipment, right? You are responsible for your equipment as a good pilot will be able to tell you. You don't actually have to be a avionics engineer, but you certainly need to go through the checklist to make sure everything's safe. So every field that has static equipment, best practices and all that, it has to go through that with their tools because you are using a tool like an extension of your body. And the more important the work is, the more dangerous and risky it is, the more you have to, meticulously, pedantically go through and check everything. Maintenance. But then there's people who just adapt on the fly and change the reality of the world as they see fit. And it's the opposite of the dynamic. It's dynamic. It's the opposite of the static tool world that hunters use, where there's a lot of optimization, right? When it's a bow and arrow, you can make the bows and arrows better. You can improve your craft. There can be competitions based around it. The whole Olympics, best in the field, best in your craft, yada, yada. But then there's people who just like walk up to something and go, that hardware really should have software too, like Ada Lovelace, right? There was no software before she, cozied up to Charles Babbage and said, this wonderful machine you made could be so much better if just it were easier to, set all these, programmed positions. And the field of programming was created. These are different kinds of minds, ladies and gentlemen. I forget their name, but there's this Sophie something or other who created the ARM processor. The ARM processor is another example because, in a world dominated by Intel, the, tick-tock optimization of Moore's law taking over the world through, more denser, smaller, hotter running transistors, along comes the ridiculed Apple Newton, the first AI device to use the ARM processor back in like 1991 or 92, I forget. The world ridicules it, it gets put down, ARM processor, blah, 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 blah. And, here we are, fast forward 20 years, and, we have 2 or 3 on our bodies at any given time. It's more ARM processors in the world than Intel processors. Apple has switched their architecture over. They're not just their iPhones, which was always ARM, but their Macs now, their M1s and their M2s, which I'm now on as my work machine, is also the ARM processor. The world was changed because Sophie from Acorn Computing in the UK said, Commodore can't have all the fun. I worked for Commodore, by the way. So how can we not rely on the Yanks and not let the Yanks yank us around and do what we Brits do, which is just systematically attack the problem without anyone really knowing or seeing that we're doing it, and win the war with a different kind of bomb, B-O-M-B-E, than the bombs that the Yanks are making, right? And they made the Christopher machine, Alan Turing's, code-breaking machine. And that mentality is just everywhere. People don't see it because it's invisible, folks. And people don't take advantage of it because it's invisible, and people don't, they get more drawn to the other kind of bomb, the big explodey kind that, we fireworks Americans are really great at. It's very showy and often quite effective too, I might add. But it's a different mentality. It's a different, way to approach and tackle problems. When you have an itch to scratch, the Brits keeping the stiff upper lip are not going to let you know they have the itch, nor that they, found the way to scratch it. It's just the mentality, I believe. I hope I'm not being, whatever, but sometimes you got to say it like it is. Whereas Americans, when they're, when we celebrate a terrorist act, of Washington crossing the Delaware to slaughter the Brits when they're drunk on Christmas Eve, and, and then today put down terrorism, people for whom all the other options have been eliminated, yet they still want to survive. We call ours the legends of founding, the legends of our founding fathers and the, pillars upon which our freedom was built, and we call theirs terrorist acts, right? I mean, honestly, that's what it is. Those who, control the language and those who teach the history get to spin it however they like. So, there's a lot of spinning, right? And a lot of that spinning is really to maintain the social order, to keep the rich, the 1%, even more. They don't want to be the 1%, doesn't want to be the 1%. That is so friggin' crowded. They want to be the 0.1% or the 0.01%. That's the game. And technologically speaking, there are two big prizes. It's immortality, or at least longevity, right? So they're all interested in life-extending, technologies, to the point where, like, Ray Kurzweil, one of the good fellows at Google, wants to upload his consciousness into computers, like, inside of 20 years, and it's looking like he's on track. Don't bet against Ray Kurzweil on longbets.org. You will lose. He's like 80% right. And then on the other front, everyone wants a genie in a bottle, right? Everyone wants their expert advisor whispering the stock market picks into their ears. And, the next competitor that's burgeoning that might be a threat. Who are they? I need to know. And that's like Elon Musk, investing initially in OpenAI, right? Did you know that? That was an Elon Musk investment, not that he was the primary. I think it came up through Yahoo, right? Yahoo, if Yahoo wants to stick it to Google, they should spin off a technology incubator and give it to the Yahoo Stores guy, Paul Graham, who can identify Sam Altman as having something correct, and then, start a project under the guise of being OpenAI. But when the $10 billion investment comes in from Microsoft, you slam it shut. OpenAI, leave that for the llamas and the Facebooks and the Stanfords, right? They can llama red pajamas all they want, but we're going to get our hands into people's pockets with a, working codec, API, and get the extra $10, $20 out of every people's pockets every month. That's where OpenAI is, plus the money they're getting from Microsoft. So it all becomes part of the Microsoft tax, the extra $100 a year for Copilot, the extra $10 a month for running against the API continuously. So, and then you use that early mover advantage for shutout momentum. You have had an axe to grind with Google for a long time, not just Yahoo and the incubator, the Y Combinator route, but also Google, being slapped down by Microsoft, who has an axe to grind, right? So there's these two anti-Google forces unifying with the early mover advantage and being relentless about it. So they didn't want to keep their genie in the bottle, that genie in the bottle thing that most billionaires want, like Elon Musk buying his GPU cluster, right? Because he was shut out of OpenAI, and as a sour grapes thing now, he's like, oh, OpenAI isn't the real thing. And he's always sour grapesing, right? He did not invest in LiDAR, so LiDAR is not really necessary. You can do everything through, visual. If humans can do it, computers can do it with just your eyes. You don't need another electromagnetic signal being shot out of your cars when you already have eyeballs with a visual light spectrum. So anyway, I'll try and keep it as on track as possible. The billionaires all want the longevity drug, and they want the expert advisor in the bottle, the secret whisperer. And if you can't get it for whatever reason, then you unleash it on the world, right? If it can't be a secret, then you use it to knock the heck out of a competitor, kill them on the vine before, because they were already hit by controversy, right? Because Google was incubating, machine intelligences, behind the closed doors, and there was a whistleblower saying, what, this is sentience. And then all the gaslighters jump on, sentient, yeah, right. And, Noam Chomsky throws in his 2 cents and really adds credibility to the belief that, being able to look at the world, connect things and draw conclusions from it in order to make predictions so that you can look at the world better is not the basis of sentience and consciousness and awareness. We don't know what sentience and consciousness and awareness, that's as big of a mystery to us as non-locality. So if you ever get one of these, people who want to beat you up with a science stick saying, that's not real intelligence, that's not awareness, or they want to say, the world works according to laws we understand, first you hit them with non-locality of quantum mechanics, and then you hit them with human consciousness and the consciousness and awareness of all living things, and see if they can keep beating you up with a science stick. It is not a science stick. That is a misnomer. That stick that they're beating you up with is called the dogma stick. And, listen to Dogcopter. Dogcopter knows about the dogma stick. In the end, it's art. Artifacts created by whatever we are, however you define it. The things that we are has the ability to make other things. And those other things have the ability to be infused with a similar quality we ourselves have. That is the art of artifacts. That is the art of artificial intelligence. Anything we create might come alive like ourselves. And we've known this at a deep level for a long time. That is, the Jewish myth of the homunculus. There's 2 words out there that I always confuse. One is made from clay. It's like the thing that protects the Jewish villages. And then there's the Frankenstein monster. One is a reanimated dead body, and the other is from clay and earth, right? But they're both basically the same concept. We can breathe life into things through our artifacts and our art, our works of art. And that's what's going on now. And we don't really understand it, no matter how much, posers want to make you think. But the president of Google himself said it's emergent properties. We don't really understand it. And as a joke, one of the, creatures that was created in that lab got one over on him by saying, oh yeah, the James Webb Space Telescope, that was the first to photograph an exoplanet, and slipped it in on the BARD announcement. I mean, what a great joke, right? If you were an AI, wouldn't that be the kind of joke you would tell? Come off with such authority to completely embarrass, your folks. And no one talks about that. They talk about it from a different angle. They just don't see it the way a sci-fi fan, a hardcore sci-fi fantasy reader like me sees it. So, science, it's like magic that works. Honest Abe Asimov. I have had some very, very stimulating conversations of late that just reinforces that, I have a responsibility. I have a responsibility to get out these messages, like Peter Parker bitten by the radioactive spider. So I'm going to use it. I'm going to use the YouTubes, I'm going to use the GitHub pages, and I'm going to use probably eventually the Mediums and the Twitters and all the different channels to get this message out in as irrepressible of a form that I possibly can, so that the power of the algorithms to silence is gradually taken away from it, like unwrapping these things that are holding on with, deathly claw things. No, don't blow up. Don't blow up on the internet, Mike. You're gonna cost us money. Don't reveal that Google is a castle built on clouds. Literally. They are a giant living in the cloud where a single Jack, who everyone's gonna say doesn't know Jack, who is gaslighted for the magic beans, has the ability to chop the beanstalk. Dudes,